The new creation in Christ, Colossians 1:13-20, as prophecy of the second coming. The passage in Colossians 1:13-20 is one of the most profound statements in the apostolic writings. At first glance, many readers interpret Paul's words as referring back to the original creation of the heavens and the earth in Genesis 1. Traditional theology often takes this for granted, reading all things were created by him as pointing to the beginning of the material universe. However, a closer examination of the context, the language, and the purpose of Paul's teaching reveals something deeper. These verses are not primarily about the beginning of the natural world, but about the new creation in Christ, the prophetic vision of the second coming, and the promise of a renewed heaven and earth. Delivered from darkness and transferred into light. Colossians 1:13-14. Paul begins with a statement of present deliverance, open quote. He has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of the Son of his love, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins. Close quote. This passage is about believers being rescued from the corruption and decay that dominate the present age. The power of darkness refers to the systems of sin, death, and disorder that govern the world apart from the higher power. Believers are delivered from that realm and brought into the kingdom of Christ, a kingdom that has already begun in promise, but will reach its full expression at his return. The mention of redemption through his blood signals that this is not the creation of atoms and stars, but the creation of a new people, reconciled to the deity. The cross marks the beginning of this new order, just as Genesis marked the beginning of the old. The image of the invisible deity and the firstborn of creation, Colossians 1:15. Paul declares, open quote, he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. Close quote. Traditional interpretation reads this as Christ being the first created being. But the language of firstborn, Greek prototokos, is not about chronological beginning, but about rank and inheritance. For example, Reuben lost his firstborn status, and it was given to Judah. Genesis 35:22, 1 Chronicles 5:1. Similarly, Israel is called God's firstborn son, yet this refers to status rather than chronological order. Exodus 4:22. Reuben was not considered the firstborn in this sense. The firstborn is the heir, the one who inherits all. In the same way, Christ is declared firstborn over the new creation, the one who inherits the renewed world. In this light, Christ is the firstborn of the new creation, the one who rose from the dead and now stands as heir of the coming world. Just as Israel called the firstborn son the one who would inherit the Father's estate, so Christ is declared firstborn over the renewed creation, the new heavens and new earth prophesied by Isaiah 65:17, and confirmed in Revelation 21:1. The emphasis is not on the creation that has already passed away in corruption, but on the creation that is coming, incorruptible, renewed, and redeemed. By him all things were created, thrones, dominions, powers, Colossians 1:16. The most misunderstood verse is Colossians 1:16, open quote. For by him all things were created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created through him and for him, close quote. If Paul meant Genesis 1, we would expect language about light, land, sea, vegetation, sun, moon, and stars. Instead, Paul names thrones, dominions, principalities, and powers. These are not elements of the natural order, but of the governmental and administrative order of the world to come. This shows us that Paul is speaking prophetically of the new administration that Christ will establish when he returns. All rival powers, political, military, spiritual, will be brought into subjection to him. The visible and invisible refers to both human rulers and the unseen structures of authority that presently govern mankind. In the renewed heaven and earth, Christ will be the one through whom all authority is constituted. Every throne and dominion will be reorganized under his headship. Nothing will exist independently of him, for all authority will derive from his resurrection and rule. Thus, Colossians 1:16 is not a backward glance to the first creation, but a forward prophecy of the new world order under Christ at his return. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Colossians 1:17. Paul continues, open quote, and he is before all things, and in him all things consist, close quote. This verse speaks not of atoms in motion, but of the cohesion of the new society that Christ creates. He is before all things, not in terms of temporal sequence, but in rank and authority. Just as the firstborn son is before his brothers in inheritance, so Christ is before the entire new creation in status. In him all things consist. That is, in him the new order is held together. Without him, mankind dissolves into the chaos of violence, like in the days of Noah. But in him, the renewed heavens and earth have their coherence, unity, and peace. Head of the body, firstborn from the dead, Colossians 1:18. Paul identifies Christ as, open quote, the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he may have the preeminence. Close quote. This is the clearest evidence that Paul is speaking of new creation. The beginning here is not the first act of Genesis, but the beginning of resurrection life. Christ is the firstborn from the dead, the first human to be raised to immortality. His resurrection is the beginning of the new heavens and the new earth. The church, the body of believers, is the preview of this new creation. Those who are now delivered from darkness and placed in his kingdom are being prepared to share in his resurrection order. When he returns, this new creation will be unveiled to the whole world. The fullness dwelling in him, Colossians 1:19. Paul declares, open quote, for it pleased the Father that in him all the fullness should dwell, close quote. The fullness, pleroma, is the totality of divine purpose. In Christ resides the completeness of the deity's plan for the new creation. He is the embodiment of what humanity was meant to be and what redeemed humanity will become. This statement again points forward. The fullness is not about the first creation of dust and breath, but about the fullness of the Spirit, righteousness, and immortality that will saturate the new heavens and earth. Reconciliation of all things through the cross, Colossians 1:20. Finally, Paul concludes, open quote, and by him to reconcile all things to himself, by him, whether things on earth or things in heaven, having made peace through the blood of his cross, close quote. Reconciliation is a work of renewal, not initial creation. The cross is the instrument by which the fractured world is healed. The language of all things reconciled points to the cosmic restoration promised in prophecy, not merely the forgiveness of individuals, but the renewal of the entire order of creation. The things in heaven and things on earth are not planets and stars, but the heavenly administration and the earthly community. Both are reconciled in Christ, so that heaven and earth will finally be united in the new creation. Tack conclusion. Colossians as prophecy of the new heavens and earth. Colossians 1:13-20 must not be read as a mere description of the original creation in Genesis. Its language, themes, and purpose point us forward to the new creation in Christ. The deliverance from darkness is the beginning of a new kingdom. The image of the invisible deity and the firstborn describe Christ as heir of the renewed world. The creation of thrones, dominions, and powers refers to the reordering of authority under Christ's reign. The headship of the body and firstborn from the dead root this vision in resurrection. Colossians 1 does not teach the pre-existence of Jesus, but rather presents him as the firstborn from the dead. It is a prophecy of the second coming, when Christ will be revealed as the firstborn of the new creation, and the deity will renew all things. The fullness dwelling in him anticipates the completed plan of the deity. The reconciliation of all things proclaims the peace of the new heavens and the new earth. Colossians 1 does not teach the pre-existence of Jesus, but rather presents him as the firstborn from the dead. It is a prophecy of the second coming, when Christ will be revealed as the firstborn of the new creation, and the deity will renew all things.